Thank you for recording it last time.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely, and we are recording again. So we always start by just setting the intention for our group, and that is really just to come from this loving space of acceptance where we can really listen to understand one another. We want to, oh, there's Pamela. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, Pamela.
Hello, Pamela.
So we're just setting the intention. And again, that's to really hold space of compassion and understanding for each other so that we can create this really positive environment for us to facilitate learning and understanding of this material. So there's no criticism or judgment of each other. Instead, we have this compassionate inquiry and curiosity. And we really do our best to support one another and lift each other up, bring out the best in all of us. So with that, why don't we go around and just do a quick check-in and see what everybody thought of the material. Maybe we'll go right to clockwise. So Daniel, you want to start?
Chapter 1 through 3, not a lot there. Chapter 4 is where I think the most of the meat is. And,
yeah.
I found chapter 4. He was adding a lot of humor into the whole thing as well. So.
Yeah. Hi, Pamela. We're just doing a check-in to see what everybody thought of the material.
Hello.
Hi,
Okay, I'm at the Tennessee Immersive. So right now they're going off to do binaural beats, so I can actually chat for a minute. But my goal today is mostly just to listen so that I can parallel process.
Awesome. Right on. Thank you for joining us. So cool to have you. Donna, what about you?
Did you lose me?
No, you're still here.
No, I'm still there.
Same thing, but I like the humor. I like the banana humor.
Yeah.
So I did like that one, but it really spoke to me about being a beginner, like how to approach it. I like that he said he was skeptic, but open. So that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Awesome. Sylvia?
Yeah, so
Okay,
I
now.
think the same thing. It felt like, like we were getting ready
Yeah.
for what's going to come after, particularly in chapters 1 through 3. And in chapter 4, again, like everybody else, I felt like there was a lot of meat and things I could relate to. And particularly this notion of this scientist coming to this work and the skepticism of the sort of, Indian dude with the long beard or whatever. And I thought a lot about my son. And I thought, this is kind of where my son is. I need to literally just copy this chapter and send it to him to read. Because I think he's studying science, yet is sort of, exploring some of these other issues and doesn't quite know how to think about it. So, yeah, that was my overall response to material.
Nice. Very cool. I enjoyed it. I kept reading, and so I went to like chapter 10 or something. I got into it. So now it's nice to slow it down and then come and revisit it and actually digest it, not just run through it. So I'm excited to dive in with you guys. I know we were talking about I didn't really underline anything till chapter 4, but did you guys get anything? Did you underline anything from the first 3 chapters?
Let me look.
Not me.
My comment was I really like the length of chapter 1.
What are you saying, Pamela?
Well, sometimes he can just drone on and on and on. Chapter 1 was just brief.
It was very brief.
I guess the only thing I underlined in chapter 1 was the fact that he's focusing on the 10 years kind of before he did the becoming. And that seems like, I was like, wow, yeah, this stuff takes a long time. So
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
I just underlined 10 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
Really good to point out. Yeah. Because I see how far advanced he is, how evolved he is, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. But he's been also doing this for like 40 years now, and then lifetimes accumulating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 40 years, you can be highly evolved too, eh, Vanessa?
Well, I'm 38, so let's see what happens. You know what's funny? I was talking to Lloyd. Campbell, I don't know if you remember Lloyd.
Yes, I do.
So he's we messaged on Facebook, and I was saying, oh, you should come to Vancouver. Pam and Tom are coming in 2020, and he's like, yeah, I think I will with my wife Barbara because it's our 40-year anniversary that year. And I'm like thinking, I think it's actually Tom and Pam's 40-year that year as well, in 2020. You guys will be together 40 years or something, wasn't it?
Ours is 30, it'll be 39.
39.
Yes, 39.
Wow, right on.
Hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, so did you guys, let me go back to the book. I know we only have an hour today, so did we have anything from chapter 2, which is a third one-page chapter?
Well, I liked what he had said about transcendental meditation, that how some people start with transcendental meditation, but it takes them 40 years to get to where I think Tom might have been in year 1. So it reminds me how much I really like Tom's work, how much evolved. It's not a shortcut because you still have to do the work.
Yeah.
But I like that reference to where he started with transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
That's, just it's a reminder to me that we're able to start way ahead of that because of Tom. So thank you. That's what I got. That's what reminds me of chapter 2.
Yeah. Cool. And then how about moving on to chapter 3 with the sacrificial banana?
I wonder sometimes if there was actually a deeper meaning with that banana,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the main thing that I got out of this was, and I think we all are super aware of this, how much skepticism he was coming in,
Yes.
particularly around who these people were, what they were wearing, where they were coming from. And I think we all, people that are interested in the work range from the chaired mathematics professor at a university to the, hippie Reiki person.
Yeah.
And, that it's so tricky because society has such a slant against certain kinds of people and even how they dress. And it's funny, you kind of have to be more the scientist type to be credible, even if the content is the same. And I think today Tom would be equally loving to the guy that is like the hippie whatever, but to see that he started out also being like, who are these weird people, is kind of interesting, because it felt like very un-Tom today.
Yeah.
So seeing that that's also where he started I thought that was, wow, that's the main thing I got out of that chapter.
I picked up on that too. I was like, oh, is that a judgment that Tom's having? Tom doesn't judge people. What's going on? Yeah.
What I like, I'm sorry.
Oh, how he was saying about the banana. He said, because somebody just took the banana, and he's like, how can people be unthinking and uncritical about what they're doing? And then he tells the initiator, he's like, bananas aren't needed. You don't need a banana to be like actually do this work. But he mentions in there, he says, but my intent was to be helpful. Like he's just trying to help with that, right? So his intent was good. It's all about the intent.
Exactly.
Sorry, Donna, what were you going to say?
I just kind of, it's almost a piggyback on that, where I underline on the ceremony and how many people come from or start with ceremony. And what I liked in Tennessee was that we keep the ceremony to a minimum. And that's really important to me. When you're first learning, you got to learn a system or a way. But once you do that, then you can quickly move into making it your own. So that I really like that, you know, you can have a banana to begin with, but leave the banana. It's like what he said. I have to do the ceremony. I thought that was really good. It spoke to me about, start with that, but then you can progress again. You can start with the banana and then move on.
Right. Yeah. The ceremony is kind of like the training wheels, right? But then when you know what you're doing, you know how to ride, you can take the training wheels off.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's like the binaural beats too. Binaural beats are just a tool, but you actually don't even use binaural beats. Like Tom was saying, they can keep you stuck, in fact. So if you let them go, you have more to. I'm still using binaural beats, so I'm a beginner.
Yeah, same. Especially in the last week.
Yeah.
So if you hear my dogs in the background, they're like little furry kids. Like when I get on the phone or on Zoom, they know I'm not paying attention to them.
Okay.
I'm gonna be barking. I apologize.
Cool.
Okay. So, okay, chapter 4. I know we had a lot from here.
Yeah.
Anything on the first 2 pages?
The first paragraph, he said the instructor looked like us, except that he had shorter hair, was clean shaven, and didn't dress. I was thinking, was Tom a hippie scientist at that time?
Yes.
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 Is there a picture of him?
Oh, yeah. I have a picture of him when we were first together. He's talking about way before that, but I have a picture of him in 70, I don't know, late 70s, I guess, that he has, where he has his beard is longer than it is now. His hair is longer than it is now. And he was real cute though.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hair.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hair.
It was awesome.
Did he rock a ponytail, or was he just like letting it loose?
I think
not since I've ever known him. He may have back before me, but he had the beard. I have never seen him without the beard.
Wow.
Wow.
Sylvia, did you see him without the beard?
No, there was a lot. I just remember it's like Chris Christopherson-y is kind of how I remember it. There was a lot of kind of quite wavy, right, Pam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe like Fabio, but with the beard.
Say it again.
Fabio with the beard. Sylvia, I think I remember you saying that he was like really fit, and he would like wear a sweatsuit, and he would jog around the neighborhood all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my memory again. Remember, I was a kid, and I used to babysit for Eric, and my memory of him is more like as a group of kids observing all the parents in our neighborhoods, and you have perspectives on all the parents, and there was definitely a sense that he was kind of weird because he wasn't like all the other parents in our neighborhood. And he used to go on these, I don't know how often, Pam, maybe you do, but he used to go on these fasts. And he would have this, like, I don't know, 7-day fast or 10-day fast, or I don't know what it was. And then he would do all this jogging around the neighborhood. And for some reason, we knew that this is what he was doing. So, I mean, he was like cool, weird. Guy with this long, hair and this long beard, like fasting and jogging around the neighborhood. So that was kind of, he was always so kind. That's what I remember too. Just, so the outside perspective from the kids in the neighborhood was like a weird guy that fast. But when I would babysit him and stuff, he was just super, super, super kind. That's what I remember.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have this visual of Tom wearing one of those, but did he wear a sweatsuit, or am I just making that up? Like one of those suits that make you sweat extra? No?
Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't know why I had that, but okay. No. Right on. Okay, anything, I guess, on the second page of chapter 4?
Yeah, about the I'm not doing this right. And it goes back to ceremony, and it's really good for me to have read that about Tom. You know, they had to get back on task, and really about being in the, how quickly he got into the being stage. That was remarkable.
Yeah. It seems like the first time he did, he got into the point consciousness.
Yeah. That was like, okay, he did that. I can do that.
Yeah. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
How about over on the next page there? Page 3.
I like how he's talking about the blank state, and then with controlled visuals. It's near the end of near the bottom of the page.
Okay.
Is that saying? I wonder if that's setting your intent, but creating that visual as you're in point consciousness. Just sort of create. When you create that vision, you sort of create what you want, and then that somehow becomes reality down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that part. Yeah, so the second to last paragraph there, right?
Yeah.
So he says, with each training class, floating in a blank state or existing in the single point of consciousness awareness became easier and more familiar. Shortly, I would learn, through trial and error, to combine the blank state with controlled visuals. The two may seem incompatible, but they are not. I think that's really important because often when we think about meditation, our aim is just to get to that state and then hold it, and we don't do anything. And Tom's saying that's just the launch pad. That's just the beginning. From there, you can go explore. And so he brought in visuals, right? Yeah.
And it also talks about the seemingly incompatible. And I think that's what I said when I was in Tennessee. I think I got it now. I have to be intentional, but give it up. I have to be this, but that. And I'm so sorry. All those things seem to be incompatible. But I think when I realize that, I go, okay, I can have an intention, but when I go in, I have an intention. I can let go of the expectations.
Yeah.
That really helped me with seemingly incompatible things are really compatible, and that's not intuitive. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have to learn to be Zen.
In the zone, right?
I have to learn, it's like I have to learn it, but not learn it. So whenever I get to that place where I go, oh, I have to have ceremony. Oh, I don't. I try to bring its opposite in, to be intentional, but no expectations. That's big for me, that duality. It's a duality as one. One hand clapping.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the only other thing on this page was that he was observing that he was having this profound experience, but it didn't seem that anybody else did. So it can make us all feel like, okay, we're not so bad, like Tom's special. Like we're not supposed to just close our eyes, and in 2 seconds get to point consciousness on the first go. It's okay. Yeah. Not everybody does that.
Yeah, exactly. Reassuring.
Yeah, when you read his story, it does make it seem like it's real fast and easy.
Yes.
And I don't think that's typical of most people.
It is not.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been my case. No.
Yeah, I'm on the 2 years and counting, trying to be in my being state. It's okay. But I know when it comes, as I shared with Sylvia, I think I had an experience. And when you do, you go, was that really real? So I didn't know if I was dreaming or lucid dreaming or out of body, but I was actually with Tom, with Sylvia. Tom was healing Sylvia, and I kind of popped in and go, oh, is that all right if I help? And he goes, yeah, I'm at the feet. You go to the top. And I put my hands on his shoulders, and I was like, was that real? Was that a dream? And I go, you know what? It's okay. I had that experience, and it felt as real as if we were in the same room, Sylvia. It was really powerful for me.
Thank you, Don. I'm sure. I mean, I needed every bit of help I could get. I certainly got a lot from Pamela and Tom and a lot of people on the WhatsApp and everything. So thank you. I really needed it, and I really felt it, and it really helped.
So for me, it's like to let go of whether that was real or not real. Again, another kind of would seem like something incompatible.
Mm-hmm.
Real or not real, and I just let it go and go, you know, it was real. I was there. I was, you know, I thought that was cool.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've been realizing that things have been happening to me, and I used to question why. I don't even do that anymore. It happened. It happened for the good, and just let it happen. Don't question it.
So that's where I think, Daniel, that's what that experience taught me, is like, you know, it's okay. It just be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come out of it because is this real? Yeah.
Right. I don't question as much as I used to.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love that.
Page 54 for me, that the beginning of that first paragraph of the page, I could solve physics problems, design experiments. It helped me to open up to all the things that I can be doing. It really gives me an example of not limiting myself. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote down what's possible for us, right?
The possibilities. Yeah.
Limitless.
It really opened me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, those first two paragraphs at the top of page 54, I think that was a huge aha for Tom too, right? That understanding. So he says, just I guess it's the second sentence at the top of the page. He says, the biggest surprise of all was that meditation could be professionally productive. By adding the visuals, it turned out to be a great place to work. And then, he goes on and says, I could solve physics problems, design experiments, analyze research data, and write and debug computer code 10 times more quickly than the results while in point awareness state than I could in the normal state of consciousness. And that was finally something that was objective, right? He could bring information from this kind of subjective realm and then quantify it here in this objective reality. So he was like, wow, this isn't, mumbo jumbo. This stuff is real. There's actually something here.
Mm-hmm.
So that changed a lot for me. That was really, really a big thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes on and says in that same paragraph, when you work a full week unsuccessfully trying to find a bug in your analyst software, and then you go home and solve the problem, in just 10 minutes of meditation time, then you know that you found something that has real effects and value. And then he says, it did not only happen once or twice off and on, but it became a dependable routine. That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So people ask me about the difference between Dr. Joe, Bob Monroe, and Tom Campbell. And to me, that's it. It's not just having an experience or go out flying or, I brought it up to a level of, what to do when you get there and how to make it practical and real. That was intangible and evidence-based. Changed the whole game for me.
Right. Yeah.
I think sometimes also it can happen a little inadvertently. I mean, people can go into meditative state without even intending or wanting to. And it reminds me when I was working in London as a management consultant, and it was really hard, long work. And I used to every morning just take a bath a long bath. I would just carve out that extra time and just kind of float. And I wasn't thinking meditation. It wasn't really part of my vocabulary. But I would just get downloads of things. And in fact, someone came, and I was working with like all British men in a very British company. And I kept on saying, so I had this idea in the bath this morning. And someone came to me and said, could you just not talk about the bath so much? That's what was happening. I was like, working so hard all day. And there was, you're so in your intellectual mind that pulling it all together. And so unintentionally, that bath became the time when I was getting the downloads and figuring out what I was going to do and really being able to stand back and see the forest for the trees. And that's kind of what this reminded me of.
I seem to get answers when I'm having a shower.
Yeah, I think there is. I think
That's
a lot of
amazing.
people have that experience, bath showers. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I usually I'll have a problem. So I'm just going to go have a shower, and all of a sudden you have an idea. It's like, cool. And I actually have one of those grease pens in my shower so that I write it on the tile so I don't forget. I get another shower.
Oh, I didn't even know they had. Did you say a grease?
Yeah.
Pens. Yes. Well, they're called China pens or grease pens.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can write on almost anything.
Huh. Yeah, I think it's whenever you're in a very calm and peaceful state, right? When you can turn off the sense data and everything that's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this meme the other day. It said something like, quiet your mind. Your heart is trying to tell you something.
Mm.
There can also often be conflicting ideas from your ego and then your intuition. So just learning how to quiet the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it one of us that sent the Bed Bath and Beyond?
Oh, that was Kana. Yeah, that was
So that
hilarious.
really speaks to the bath portion.
Yeah.
So just going back to the book here, anything else on that same page? So what are we? We're like 4 pages in or 5 pages in, chapter 4.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Just, I guess, the 4th paragraph down, first sentence, he says, I was surprised and delighted that meditation had a direct, objective, practical value.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that it finally really like put it on the map for him, Moving over to the next.
He said, I tested it, and what he taught us in Tennessee was you're the experimenter. So I've really approached it in my journaling as an experimenter for this exact reason.
Yeah.
Testing it, and if that doesn't work, then do this and make notes. It's really something I didn't want to lose, that we experiment. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And that experiments take time too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta test it out for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas Edison would agree. How many times did it take for him to get the light bulb right? 4,000?
10,000.
How many was it? 10? Yeah.
10,000.
I know it's big. Yeah.
Wow.
And I like what he says is that now I know there's 10,000 things that won't work on it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, good data.
It's perception, right?
Good data.
Yeah, and on that note, just over on the second page, second paragraph, second sentence, he says, the primary mission of the academic research scientist is to collect enough valid, repeatable, measurable data to transfer a gray theoretical construct into a real object or effect. So again, yeah, just collecting all the data, right? And that's what it is. It's an experiment where you collect the data and you don't just make up assumptions from the information.
Do you think that's more apparent in the Western culture, where it's that scientific belief where you have to prove that something's real, whereas in the Eastern culture, it's like, they just take it for granted, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like that.
I think that's true. I think, though, that the Western culture has permeated all over the world to a large extent. I mean, even when I was in Japan, I mean, the billboards, the ads are all American Western ad. So if that's the case, if we're having that big of an influence on the rest of the world, we need to grow up.
Yeah, that's right.
Amen, sister.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And we are, slowly but surely.
I think so.
Ripples in the pond.
That's right.
Mhm.
I don't know. I had the next paragraph highlighted. I don't know if you guys had that.
I had the sentence, it's important not to confuse hypothetical things with real things, and he says that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really important to me. You know.
Yeah. Don't confuse hypothetical things with real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can end up chasing your own imaginary tail.
Right.
I had the other part highlighted too, where he says, "My mind was not closed. I allowed the possibility of new information, and with enough real measured data, one might eventually move a thing, such as a black hole, for example, from the realm of the hypothetical to the realm of the real, but only with sufficient good quality data. That particular attitude has never changed. I continue to feel that way, work that way, and employ that methodology to sort out what is real and what is not." Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, that was the marriage between the East and the West. Again, the Zen Cohen thing, what
Mhm.
look like opposites, Western mind versus Eastern mind. He really melds it for me. You're the scientist, you have your intention. I get it. I did all the initial work. I set my intention. But when you go in, you are opening up to the experience, being in the being level. So I did my intellect, now I'm being the being. I don't know, did that make sense? That's what I feel like. It's a feeling. Like I have to have my data, but I have to go in on a being level with my right brain.
Yeah.
I
Anybody
think
with me?
that's key, because we have to develop both sides of our physical avatar, the right brain, left brain. And some people are very, and he was talking about, he was very left brain focused.
Yes.
And this, made him see, hey, wait a minute, there's a lot more.
Yes.
He was extremely left brain focused, which is, I think, one reason he wrote this, to appeal to such left brain people, because he knew how hard it was for them to see beyond the logical, it must be measured kind of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important for our growth to develop both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Pamela. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, what Pamela said.
I got it, Donna. You did it.
You get me. You get me.
Yeah, and he's going in and he's saying that it actually can be measured. It's not just you're and he's like, and go measure it for yourself. Don't take my word.
Yeah, exactly.
What I like about this too is because I don't really, like I've said this before, I don't go out of body and do other things. I'm trying, but I realize in my day-to-day life, a lot of this applies in my day-to-day life, doing my best to, evolve into my full potential as a human being here, to be kind and compassionate and loving and see the big picture. And I notice that the data that I collect sometimes is my own made up shit. Like I might see somebody, for example, dating, okay? I might see somebody and I might say, oh, they have this.
And that's their dating experiences.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is all this data that I've collected. But until I can actually collect more real evidence and get to know them over time and see stuff that is objective, then it's all subjective stuff that I've made up. It's this information that I've collected, but it's not real. It's only stories that I've been saying and I've been putting out there. I think we do that a lot about people in general, is we make up stories about them. And that's the data that we collect on them. But to be objective with it and actually see the big picture of who they really are, and not make up stories, and just to get to know them as their authentic self, I think takes a lot of time to collect that evidence. Yeah. I saw another meme the other day, and it said, dating is collecting evidence on somebody until you decide you don't like them. I know. Oh, dating. Oh.
Well, on page 55, one, two, three, fourth paragraph, now I had to change my philosophy of reality. That's highlighted and surrounded, scored, asterisk. If I had to say anything about when people want a quick explanation of Tom Campbell, I said, he's changed my reality, how I look, like the philosophy of reality. The other folks didn't, I don't think they affected me as much as Tom's has affected me about how I just view reality. And I went on and bought a book, The Nature of Reality, and pondering that a lot. Thank you, Tom, for that. That's like the big one for me. What possibilities and probabilities are, how you can hold the yin and the yang at the same time. And the yin and the yang symbol, actually, even on paper, it can't move. But as an acupuncturist, we have to learn that philosophy. It's a moving, the yin morphs into yang, morphs into yin. And I think that's what's happening to me, is that I'm continually morphing and evolving and changing in how I look at people and how I'm really just growing up and being loved in a way that I would have never thought of that. Never.
That's a great metaphor.
That's huge. I just wanted to share that.
The next sentence was also for me, there were those things that were non-measurable yet functionally operational, including my meditation state, which is properly defined as an altered state of consciousness, that fell into the category of subjective experience with objective results. And, I'm sure this resonated with everybody, but I live in such a world of scientists and business people. And I'm actually quite open about sharing my experiences because, why not? If that erodes the nature of a relationship, then I have enough people in my life. I don't need everybody to love me or like me. So I've lost that risk aversion that I probably had earlier in my life. But, this is such a good way to articulate it in kind of a scientific way. And I often say to people, well, you accept the placebo effect. Like that's weird. Like that is not normal, that people are taking a sugar pill and they're having a objective medical response. You accept that when people are loved, they heal faster. Everybody accepts that. You guys even accept that if a twin wakes up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, is my twin okay? People tend to think, yeah, that's probably real. So, I think there's a collection of things that are in the non-physical reality that people actually do accept. And so all I say is, look, that's the bridge. There's just, all you have to do is extend. Or what's the other one? Buddhist monks that meditate have a piece of their brain that gets larger. Like if you meditate for 10 years, there's actually a piece of your brain that physically gets measurably larger. So meditation changes the physical architecture of your brain. Like all these things, but people tend to accept that. So I think it's just like one step beyond to start thinking about a larger physical reality. And this is a really good way to talk about it with scientists. Subjective experiences with objective results. So I love that sentence.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Sylvia. And I like how you said that you've lost some of that risk adversity and that you're able to open up, because it takes that courage too on our half to open up and start talking about these types of things. Because oftentimes we don't, because of fear of what others may think of us, right? But if you let go of that fear and you start talking about it, what I'm noticing is that often I hear, oh, really? Me too. Wow. Astral projection. Oh my God, I've been having out of body experiences. And I've never talked about this before. It's never happened to anybody. I'm like, it happens to a lot of people, but a lot of people just don't talk about it. So once we have the courage to start talking about it, then when we start making it okay, making it a normal thing. Because right now it's in the margins. It's not normal. But we're kind of helping people realize that it is normal.
Yeah, I think that's so true. From my experience, I feel like people fall in three categories. They either get really defensive and are like, no, it's science. And then like, okay, you have the religion of science, because there's data anomalies out there that you're not willing to look at, and you're saying it's impossible than anything else, which I think is fundamentally unscientific. So I have very little tolerance for conversations with those people. Then there are people that are polite and kind of think it's kind of kooky. That's fine. And then there's the people that secretly come to you after they've had a couple of drinks, in a corner, and confess that their mother came back to them or whatever it is. And that's just kind of cool, because sometimes it's hard to predict which is which.
Yeah, and you'll never know until you open up and start talking about it, right?
Yeah,
cool.
True.
Like that. Yeah, a little bit further down on that same paragraph, he says, I had shown that an altered consciousness directed by intent can consistently and directly affect and interact with real things, such as my computer code. Complex logical problems could be solved without the intentional application of a rational process. Somehow a non-measurable subjective experience could be turned into a reliable and effective scientific tool by some sort of consciousness operator. Very interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Because typically that would not be a scientific thought or belief that could be the case. That he had experientially discovered that,
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
which he found as a scientist to be, that's his very interesting, even a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what I love is that the next paragraph down, the sentence of it, he says, I wondered if other altered states of consciousness existed and what one could do with them. So what I really like is he just kept opening his mind up more, and not saying like, found the answer, wow, here it is, this is what we need to do. But he's like, wow, if this exists, then there must be more. So that it shows that he continues to learn and grow, and not stop at one thing. Anything else on that page? Page 56 in the big book. The 1 to 3rd paragraph down. He says, I began to analyze other common altered states, such as daydreaming. Were daydreams functional? Of course. Why had I not noticed that before? People have been preparing themselves mentally for all sorts of things since the beginning of time. Ever since I read that, I've been so much more aware of my space out or go into these zones, if you will, and realizing that, hey, Vanessa, this is an opportunity for you to focus your intent. Don't just go on autopilot here. This is super productive. This can be productive if you apply yourself. Right?
Also, it's a good thing to realize if somebody around you is doing this, or your child, that maybe they're not on autopilot. Maybe they are doing something when it looks like they're doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
This week, some really interesting things have been happening. I'm doing this contract work, and so I'll get this email, and I'm reading it that I should call this person, and then with a minute or two, they'd call me. Yesterday, I'm reading the email, and I had that thought, I need to call this person, and immediately I get an email reply from the guy. I said, weird, right? But is that the focus of what you put out there, and all of a sudden you get a communication or some kind of signal coming back? But the more I'm sort of realizing it, the faster it comes to you, which I thought was really interesting. So how can I use that information, that data stream I'm getting to create more profitability? I guess I love Tom's word of profitability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing that. I mean, we're even with
Well, I think you can use your intent. You can just have an intent. Yeah, an intent to be more profitable. And I think the larger consciousness system may not just help you just because of money, but if your intent is to be more profitable so that you can be more free, help more people, do whatever, I think it would happen. All you need is an intent.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, it's
As long as
another.
the intent is for a positive, is for the greater good.
Now that you say that, in terms of my coaching business, I think like 6 or 7 people called me up asking for a clarity call. And this has never happened before. But I remember putting an intent out there, says, how do I get more clients? And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, these clients are calling me. I was like, this is interesting, bizarre, but because I'm not questioning it, I said, this is cool, this is good.
Yeah, our intent is super powerful. And
My video froze. Can anybody hear me?
yeah, we can hear you, Pamela, but we can't see you.
Now we can't hear.
Yeah. Then now you're gone.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, she's probably gonna have to. They're probably wrapping up their binaural beats right now too.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's Pamela. Yeah. So I guess Pamela, you're dropping in and out, but if you do come in, then join us. If not, we understand.
Yeah, I'm back. I had to dial back in. It just died on me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you guys have anything else on this page 56?
I just wanted to say something about this athlete with the intention, because this is a really kind of easy way to get people that are nervous. So both my kids, I had a friend that's clairvoyant who's really exceptional, and I'd see her for a while. Particularly my older son had a lot of health issues and whatever, but she really taught me how to teach them to get in their third eye, which is very similar. It's just another tool. And both my boys can do it in sports. And then I started, because I've been teaching them since they were 8 years old, and I could literally watch like a ski run or whatever sport they're in. And in fact, it's where I can do some of my focused intent the most for some reason, because it's just such a clear objective. I didn't care if they won or not. I just wanted them to ski. They weren't going to win. They were like not great ski racers, but I wanted them to ski their best and ski in their third eye or with focused intent or whatever we want to call it. And I could see the kids ski and I would be like, yes, he's in it, or no, he's not. And it's been an amazing tool to watch these children grow up with that ability. And they use it right now. They're young. They use it more for sports and also tests. They can sort of click in, when they have to do something that's achievement. I'm hoping to be able to teach them to widen their application, but it's a good way in for people that might be skeptical.
Like they put themselves into the zone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's real interesting, Sylvia. I never was taught how to do that, and I never did it, of course, for sports. But looking back, and because you mentioned it for tests, I definitely did it for test taking all through school. That's how I did as well as I did in school. I was in that space for test taking.
Yeah.
And I had an intent to go there.
Yeah, and some kids get really wigged out on tests. And so there are kids that consistently underperform because they're just like, in their fear and ego. But if the kids can release that and get into that intent, it's a great way in sort of a first step of learning. And you did it naturally. That's great. I bet you a bunch of people do. And then a bunch of people naturally do the opposite.
How did you teach your kids?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, how did you teach your kids to get into that state?
Honestly, the tool or technique, which again is just a crutch and I know isn't real, but worked for them, is I said, when you get that scared feeling and it's mostly in your gut, I was like, well, just pull your energy up to your third eye and focus and be clear. And I always told them, your gut is, fear and ego and all these other things, whereas your third eye, clarity, wisdom, acceptance, seeing the big picture. And so I would say to them, don't ski because you want to win. Ski your best. Ski, to be clear, but accept that, you could fall. You could not do well, but you need, so you can't be skiing with this, the only option is I win, or whatever their focus and intent. It was like, you need to release the outcome and just focus on the process. So, just over and over again. And then you could see it. And it's funny when they were rowing, like in a team of 4, I would literally imagine I really felt, this is the one place where I felt like I could be clairvoyant or connected or whatever. I would just focus on the boys in the boat and the coxswain and just feel them. And I'd be like, oh, Jamie is like totally in his head. And I would sit there and I would imagine like a golden light going from one third eye through all of them, and I would literally work on them to calm whoever was freaking out in the boat, calm them down. And I honestly felt like I could feel it, and it was real. And it's such a silly thing because, at the end of the day, who cares if 4 high school boys like do well in a rowing race? But it was more the practice that, of the intent. My intent was to get them to learn how to get to that clarity moment.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. And then, you're increasing your ability to focus your intent as well, right? It's everybody wins.
Yeah.
Trying to do that. And then your kids, you're passionate, you feel for your kids, so you want to help them, so you have that pull to do that with your kids. I'm going to practice that with my kids.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that exercise that is really simple. And then I would say, look, if you think it's all psycho mumbo jumbo, well, your stomach is bacteria and stuff that's not really you. Whereas this is your prefrontal cortex. So think about it, pulling your energy to your prefrontal cortex. I don't care which way you think about it, just use the tool. And so that way I didn't have to get them to believe in the mumbo jumbo. But they kind of do now. They fight it a little bit, They're on the edge.
Thank you for sharing that tool. Yeah. Anything else on that page? That same paragraph I had, the last 2 sentences, where he says the relevancy criteria are: is it consistently functional? Does it actually help one's performance in objective reality? And are the effects measurable? Our directed imagination example would read a definite yes on all counts. That's kind of exactly what, Sylvia, what you're talking about with your tool that you're using to help your kids if they're boating. Then did you notice that when you did that, they would perform better? So objective results?
I felt more I could feel it. I literally, quote unquote, watched every race with my eyes closed. And it didn't come from a place of fear. I honestly didn't care if they won or not. That was not my thing. They cared, my husband cared, people cared, but I'm just not a competitive person. I just wanted everybody to do their thing to the best of their ability in that moment and be able to do that with compassion and integrity and all that kind of stuff. So I would literally just go into meditation and I felt I could feel it. And, that was my reality, that I felt like I knew who was stable in the boat, who wasn't, and I felt like I could sometimes coax them into a more clear, less fear-based state while they're racing. And I felt like every now and then I'd open my eyes and I felt like you could see it, like when the kids were all super together, relaxed, calm, doing their thing, particularly in a boat. And actually on the ski races I watched, and those I felt like I literally could see when he was in his third eye, just because it was effortless. Doesn't mean that he did that well. He'd come in 22nd or whatever he came in, but the quality and the nature of the skiing was different when he was in fear as to when he was in clarity.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we only have a few more minutes here because we did have book till 9:30, but I know some of you have to leave at 9. So
I have to leave at 9 too. So
you have to leave at 9?
I do too. I'm going to go back downstairs and work the the audio equipment. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But thanks, everybody. This is fun.
Thanks,
I love you, Pam.
thanks, Anna.
Does anybody else have to jump off? I mean, we could wrap up. Can you guys do 5 more minutes?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to go, but anyways, it was fun. Yeah, I have to go now.
Thank you,
Okay.
Danny.
Bye, Daniel.
I'll see you
Oh,
guys
next,
next week.
Neil, thanks for all your loving comments.
yeah. So 5 to
Oh,
10. 5
you're welcome.
to 10.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so I guess we only have one page left. Anything on the last page?
I guess the two things that I underlined were just arrogance on the
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. At the bottom of the third little paragraph, arrogance waned as openness and purity waxed. I just love
Mhm.
that. Was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Stated.
Yeah, I had just before that where he says, my mind had been forced open by the indisputable facts of my experience, and as a result, I'd become less of a philosophical know-it-all. I realized there was much about life and reality that I did not know.
Mhm.
Isn't that true? Like, I do it all the time where I'm like, I know this, I know. And that's, I think, something that we often say is like, oh yeah, I know. But when we say I know, we're totally cutting ourselves off from learning anything new. Right? Like,
Yeah, for real.
and that's all ego, obviously. It's ego trying to make us feel better about ourselves, saying that we do know. Because if we didn't know, then we would look like fools, maybe. That's their insecurity talk.
Totally.
I had the very last paragraph, the first sentence, where he says, much later, it became evident that expanding my reality beyond a certain beginning level would require personal growth. I had to increase the quality of my consciousness to understand the big picture. Conversely, understanding the bigger picture helped me grow up. They work together. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Like when I tell Tom, Tom, why am I not getting out of body? He's like, your fear, man. Get rid of that fear, and then you'll be able to. You got to grow up. Yeah. But I do like how they go together because I feel like learning about these concepts that we're discussing, it brings me more peace. I'm seeing that I am becoming a more open-minded, patient, loving person. Yeah, and it's funny because it's learning it at an intellectual level, but then it slowly sinks into my being level through that repetition.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'll share this is, during, the last few weeks have not been easy. And there have been some points when it was really challenging. Particularly the night that I was like coughing up blood all night and they were trying to find surgeons to come in and take care of me. And I was in touch with Tom and Pam during that. And Tom just kept on saying, Sylvia, this is like a really good opportunity to learn this stuff. And I can tell you that night of coughing up blood, I literally, that night, it was the most profound experience. I've got to figure out a way to write about it. But I lived that night literally feeling like each minute was this distinct unit of, I don't know, I pictured it as almost like mercury in a thermometer. I don't even know why. But I lived it in each minute, and I lived each minute fully, and each minute with positive intent, and each minute with trying not to cough up blood, and like that sort of thing. And I did that for, 6 hours. And that's a long time to stay. And I had the binaural beats on the entire time. And yeah, anyway, and I've got to go back and figure, and then it fit in other times, or other times that with Tom, little experiences and ups and downs. And Tom would say, okay, the universe gave you another challenge because they want you to learn this. And then finally on the last one, he was like, woohoo, you did it. Like you stayed in positivity. You didn't freak out. You like, So anyway, sometimes we get challenges that allow us to take those lessons and embed them in our being, because sometimes when we're challenged is when it's the hardest to do it. And you're forced to, to do it at the being level rather than the intellectual level. Sorry, it's still a little hard to talk for long periods of time.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. It's remarkable.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm going to figure out how to write about it, and then I'll share you guys.
Good.
Love that. And it's interesting how we all have so many different challenges, right? Like that's the beauty of this world that we live in. and learning how to just open up and have compassion for everybody and their different challenges. Have you heard of the documentary called Human?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, I've only heard of it too. Boshana was telling me about it. But apparently it's on Netflix. I want to watch it. And what it's about is all these different humans from around the planet, and it shows their different challenges and then helps you look into their world, put yourself in their shoes, and understand where they're coming from and how they work through these challenges. And they can be hardcore challenges. I think there's like one guy on death who's like murdered people and he's in jail. And normally we'd be like, oh my God, these people, like they're monsters. How can they do that? But what this documentary does is it actually invites you into their world, and then you can see where he came from, what made him become this type of person that acted out in these.
I love that. I'm gonna watch it today because I need to sit around a lot. So that's on my list.
Yeah. I haven't seen it either, but I definitely want to watch that. Maybe bring more compassion and humanity to this place, right? Yeah. Very cool. Anything else from that? I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I love this chapter just in general. It's a really good setup. You know, it brings you into, you know, his world. Makes you feel like, wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. I think it's a good setup for people. A lot of stuff gets challenging later, but this is really acceptable.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the 4 chapters was, just to be open-minded and also to question. Mostly to be open-minded, because I think we are a very skeptical society. And it just comes with the nature of being human, and the nature of living in a materialistic society, you know, where this is viewed in our culture, is that we're skeptical of everything, of people. So to really just open our mind to the possibilities and not to get stuck and not to be like, oh, I found the answers, and then just stay there, but be like, and now this is only a catalyst to push me further out, learn more. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I got. How about you guys? What were your big takeaways or your final thing that you got from these chapters?
I think it's my big takeaway is what I've already said about the dichotomies. You know, like to have you're having a subjective experience that you can bring objective data.
Yeah.
So for me, it was opening up. Again, I'm saying the same thing, being an open skeptic that's seemingly compatible. So it's like, yes, that's a possibility. You can hold these things. You can be open and skeptical. You can be this and that. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can be a scientist and an artist. I can be left and right brained. I don't have to be one. I can be both. I like that. It speaks a lot to me.
I think for me, it just was the relatability of it, that it felt so much like my experiences, except for the fact of getting into point consciousness right away. But just, you know, with other people being like, oh, that works for you? Yeah, cool. And not being interested, or, you know, the skepticism around the hippies, or, you know, all that. It just feels like, wow, he really did start off quite, you know, normal and having the same issues and conflicts we may have. His journey obviously took off in a really, you know, fast way, but I liked feeling like, okay, you know, that's, his starting palette doesn't sound so massively different from mine, so there's hope.
Yes, hope. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope. Yeah, I'm really doing my best to, I guess I've kind of hung up my hat, if you will, and I was so gung-ho to get out of body and do all these kind of paranormal things, and now I'm really just looking at my life day to day and saying, how can I apply these teachings to being the best mom that I can be, or being the best friend or daughter or sister, whatever it might be. And that for me seems to give me a lot of a lot of traction, and I can see, and I get those objective results, right? I can see my relationships improving. I can see my health improving, and that all is objective. So that for me is enough. And I ain't gonna lie though, I would still love to go out of body and explore the larger consciousness system, but it's okay if I don't either.
Well, Vanessa, just to share with you, I mean, because of this clairvoyant friend that I had, so I started talking to her when my older son was probably 9, he's 21. And, you know, she basically, the stuff she says really fits with Tom, like on the practical level. She doesn't really talk so much about the larger consciousness system, although I think a lot of the ways that Tom says things work are exactly how she is getting the information. So there's no real conflict. And she's very big on the chakra system and insists it's real. And Tom says that's dogmatic. I'm probably more in Tom's camp, but it's okay because she's really got that tool well developed, and I find it very useful. Yeah. But the 11 years I've been using it with my kids has been fundamental to my process and to my kids' process. And even now with a 21-year-old son, all the letting go you have to do, and all the how not to try and insert yourself too much and let them have their own experiences, everything, at every step of the way. I've learned so much. So I'm just going to encourage you to think about that as a really significant part of your journey that will bring both you and your kids so much. And the other stuff will come, and maybe it'll come after that, and you will be using the other stuff now to prepare yourself, or maybe it'll just come, before that. But, for me, it's been foundational. I mean, completely foundational and transformational.
Thank you.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely parenting for me has been something that is really shaping me into the best version of myself, because it's teaching me patience. It's teaching me how to be selfless, how to love unconditionally. It's teaching me so much through the parenting journey. And also teaching me how to have compassion for myself and not beat myself up when I don't do the right thing. And then what is the right thing? And then not letting other people's opinions influence me in how I see myself either. Because everybody's got an opinion, right?
Yeah. Well, if you ever have a question or something you just want someone else's opinion on, I've thought about these issues so deeply, and my kids are a little older. Feel free to just text me in the moment and be like, this drives me crazy. Do I do this or do this or whatever? So if you ever have something you're wrestling with and you just want someone else's opinion, I'll happily give you my thoughts.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that call me around that for whatever reason. That's just, something that I've just thought about so deeply and done. And I had an older son that was quite tricky, and now he's, blossomed into this beautiful, deeply loving, caring, responsible young man, despite a lot of early challenges. So, that's been a journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Cause that's with me. It's my older son, who's playing video games right now. And then that's the other thing is like, too much screen time.
It's a challenge. There's so many points. I think when they're younger, particularly, there's so many points where you're like, do I do this or this? So if you ever feel like you want someone to talk to, I'm very happy to share, because I think those ages, 11 to 18, are probably super challenging, and maybe even 9. I mean, 9 is close to 11 sometimes, and sometimes the 9-year-olds are like 11-year-olds already. But I think there's a lot of questions where it feels really unclear what the right answer is.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I will be reaching out. So thank you for that. Oh, this was fantastic, ladies. I really enjoyed this.
This is my first morning at home, so
wow.
really,
Sylvia.
and I'm not able to go to my son's race. I'm just too drugged out and feel like my body's been hit by a train. But sitting here and being with you guys has been such a joy. I can't tell you. So thank you, Vanessa, for organizing it and being such a beautiful, wonderful facilitator. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Grateful for
Thank you, Vanessa. You have a gift. Your gift.
You're special.
Guys, stop it. Okay, bye.
Come on.
No.
Thank you, guys. This was incredible.
Lots of love. Take care.
Bye.